Hello everyone, Darko 2012 here with Global Government News. And I am not just covering an article this time, I am going to be covering just, I guess you would say, a plethora of evidence that this internet that we use to fight our enslavement is under attack, as it always has been, but more so now than ever. And so I will go through and blitz through all the articles documenting what our global masters have been up to, what they've been calling for, and what their propaganda machines have been spewing out over the past year or so, if not longer. So the latest of the attacks is, and I'm only going to take a minute a piece here, is frightening taste of internet censorship as major free speech websites blocked. And here it goes. This is talking about in New Zealand and Australia, where ISPs have blocked the InfoWars and Prison Planet websites. And so we're going to move on. This was February 8th, 2010. This is from Thursday, December 17th, 2009, and it says Death of the Internet. Censorship bills in UK, Australia, US aim to block undesirable websites, which is interesting. December 17th, 2009, because this is exactly what they did as of, February 7th, 8th, February 8th, 2009, so they did follow through with that. It says Internet censorship bills currently working their way into law. The UK and Australia and the US legislated to form for government powers to restrict and filter any website that it deems to be undesirable for the public. In the UK legislation cited as the Digital Economy Bill currently being debated in the House of Lords, and talks about Clause 11 and technical obligations in relation to internet service providers and technical measures that limits the speed or capacity of the provider. And moving on, we have Obama's information czar calling for banning free speech, which was Cass Sunstein. And Sunstein, taxation and censorship of dissenting opinions will, quote, will have a place under thought police program advocated. And this is the nice little national security army, an online army of spies and hired bloggers, thugs for the government for disinfo. And they will regulate certain things that will, quote, one, government might ban conspiracy theorizing. Government might impose some kind of tax, financial or otherwise, on those who disseminate such theories. And this was on January 14th, 2010. And this is Sunstein's January 2008 white paper entitled Conspiracy Theories. He's the head of the Information and Technology in the White House, and he has proposed these, and it says we'll have a place under imaginable conditions. And it says the 1998 CBS poll found that 10% of Americans believe that Oswald acted alone. So apparently the other 90% of Americans could be committing some form of thought crime. So now we're moving into thought crimes with Obama's information czar. And for those of you who think that we're lying, here you go. Here's the actual thing. Social Science Research Network. Tomorrow's Research Today, Conspiracy Theories, Cass Sunstein, Harvard University, Harvard Law School, and Adrian Vermeule. This was from January 15th, 2008. And it goes in there and it admits that some things did occur, some real conspiracies, but there's other ones that haven't. So the government's gonna be able to tell you what conspiracy theories are correct and what are incorrect. So. And we have this one from Mother Jones, mainstream. Should Obama control the internet? A new bill would give the president emergency authority to halt web traffic and access private data. Yes, he can shut down the internet in order to protect it and save it. Should President Obama have the power to shut down domestic internet traffic during a state of emergency? Senator Rockefeller thinks so, and that's the bill, the Cybersecurity Act, which has just recently passed the House in February 2010. And moving on to the Senate, it was a humongous majority vote, like 400 in the House, 400 something to like 5. And so there you go. And they introduced the bill, the National Security Cybersecurity Act of 2009, and it did go through. So, and It does not only add the power of the president, it also grants the Secretary of Commerce access to all relevant data concerning networks without regard to any provision of law, regulation, rule, or policy restricting such access. This means that he or she can monitor or access any data on private public networks without regard to privacy laws. Here we have Rockefeller. Internet is, quote, #1 national hazard. This was from March 23rd, 2009, about a year ago. It says, according to the grandson of John D. Rockefeller, nephew of banker Rockefeller, Chairman J. Rockefeller, the internet represents a serious threat to national security, and he says he's not acting alone. So this is what I'm talking about when I say that the elites admit that the internet is the biggest blowback that they've had. It says, quote, it really almost makes you ask the question, would have been better if we had never invented the internet, Rockefeller mused during the confirmation hearing. And then he says he cites dubious figure 3 million cyber attacks launched against Department of Defense every day. Everybody is attacked and anybody can do it. People, well, it's China and Russia, but there could be some kind of Latvia doing something.
President Obama's Director of National Intelligence, Admiral Blair, who I greatly respect, have labeled cybersecurity perpetrated through the internet as the #1 national hazard of attack on the homeland in West Virginia, America, or anywhere else.
And then where they are proposing web video restrictions. And so if you want to upload a video in Italy, it has to go through the government to get permission. And this was January 15th, 2010. New rules to be introduced by the government will decree and require people who upload videos onto the internet to obtain authorization from the Communications Ministry, similar to that required by television broadcasters, drastically reducing freedom to communicate over the web. And it says it's ostensibly an enactment of the EU directive on product placement and is due to go into effect at the end of January after being subjected to non-binding appraisal by the Parliament. And here on Fox News, home of the Fair and Balanced News, says on December 15th, 2009, joining China and Iran, Australia to filter the internet. And says Australia is forging ahead with plans to filter internet content, joining such well-known regressive regimes as China and Iran. And it says under Chinese-style system, internet service providers in the country would be legally obliged to filter out banned material. And of course, it's in the name of child porn. But and it says the government says such a system would help protect people, especially children, from harmful materials. And so, of course, if you're against the system, you're for child porn, right? And it says, let's see. However, critics say filtering would not prevent determined users from sharing illegal content and could also see an enthusiastic officials carrying out unnecessary censorship. Moving on to the Sydney Morning Herald out of Australia on March 19th, 2009, a year ago, leaked Australian blacklist reveals banned sites. And it says Australian communication regulators' top secret blacklist of banned websites has been leaked onto the web and paints a harrowing picture of Australia's forthcoming internet censorship regime. WikiLeaks, an anonymous document repository for whistleblowers, obtained the list, which has been seen by this website and plans to publish it. And it says it seems to me as if just about anything could potentially get on that list, Leidenfeld said. It says, however, if the government proceeds with its mandatory internet filtering scheme, sites on the blacklist will be blocked for all Australians. And the government has flagged plans to expand the blacklist to 10,000 sites or more. It says, internet censorship, major truth-providing websites blocked by Asianetcom to New Zealand user. And it's from February 7th, 2010 this year, and this is basically what I was saying about being blocked in New Zealand. And it says Telstra, Clear, Vodafone, World Exchange Communications, and are not affected, while Whoosh, Archon, Slingshot Telecom, and iHug users are. And it was only after activists out there and people called in and InfoWars covered it that eventually the ISPs said, oh, we're not for any type of censorship, and they provided it again and unblocked it. So there's going to be another part to this video. So please check it out, and it's documenting all the attacks on the internet. Thank you.